Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. You know, uh, today we're going to tackle something that's been really fascinating me lately, uh, solopreneurship. It's everywhere you look these days, and well, you've given me a ton of research on it.
Yeah, lots to dig into.
Yeah, real deep dive. So, uh, first off, maybe just so everyone listening is on the same page, can you kind of set the stage? Like, what exactly are we talking about when we say solopreneur? What makes this different from just, someone who's self-employed or freelancer?
I think that's a great place to start. The term gets thrown around a lot these days, but it really is more than just, working for yourself. It's about leveraging technology and this like entrepreneurial mindset to build a sustainable business on your own terms. It's about owning your brand, your vision, and really your entire operation.
So it's not just about, being a freelance writer or designer. It's about building something bigger, something more scalable.
Exactly. It's about creating a brand, a system, a whole ecosystem around your skills and expertise.
Mhm.
And what's really interesting is that we're seeing this huge surge in solopreneurship right now.
Yeah, the numbers are pretty mind-blowing. I was looking at some stats earlier, and in 2020, a whopping 84% of small businesses in the U.S. were solo operations. That's insane.
It is, and it's not slowing down either. By mid-2022, there were 16.8 million Americans who were self-employed more than at any point since 2008. Get this, over half of them only started their solo ventures after 2020. So clearly something is happening here.
Yeah, it's like the perfect storm of factors. It's pushing people in this direction. But before we get into all that, I'm curious from your perspective, what's the big deal about this whole solopreneur thing? Like, why should people even care about this trend?
I think it's important for a few reasons. First off, it's a massive shift in the way we think about work and careers. The traditional 9 to 5 job is becoming less and less appealing to people, especially younger generations who are craving more autonomy, flexibility, and purpose. And solopreneurship offers a way to achieve that.
Yeah, that makes sense. People want more control over their lives and their work.
Exactly. And second, this trend is having a huge impact on the economy. Solopreneurs are creating jobs, driving innovation, and really reshaping entire industries. It's a force to be reckoned with.
So it's not just some niche thing, it's a real economic force.
Right. And lastly, I think it's a really inspiring story of individual empowerment.
Hmm.
It shows that you don't need a fancy degrees, a ton of capital, or even a big company to be successful. You can create your own opportunities, build a thriving business, and achieve your goals all on your own terms.
I love that it's like a real democratization of entrepreneurship.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think there are a lot of reasons why this trend is worth paying attention to. It's changing the way we work, the way we do business, and really the way we think about success.
So we've established that this is a big deal, but let's break it down a little bit. What exactly is fueling this massive surge in solopreneurship?
Well, as I mentioned, it's a confluence of factors, but I'd say there are three main drivers. First and foremost, technology has made it easier than ever to start and run a business on your own.
All right, we've got all these amazing online tools and platforms at our fingertips now.
Exactly. We're talking e-commerce platforms, social media, marketing, automation, software, you name it. It's all there, ready to be leveraged by solopreneurs. And that's a game changer because it means you don't need a huge team or a ton of resources to get started.
So technology is like the great equalizer.
In many ways, yes. And then there's the economic climate, the great resignation, inflation, stagnant wages. All of these things have pushed people to seek alternative paths to income and security. And for many, solopreneurship has been the answer.
It's like people are realizing that the traditional job market isn't as stable or as rewarding as it used to be.
Yeah, there's definitely a shift in mindset happening. And then finally, there's this cultural shift towards independence, flexibility, and purpose. People are no longer content with just punching the clock. They want work that aligns with their values and gives them the freedom to live life on their own terms. And solopreneurship offers all of that.
It's like the perfect recipe for this kind of movement.
It really is. So yeah, those are the big three drivers: technology, economics, and culture. And they're all feeding into each other, creating this powerful momentum behind the solopreneur revolution.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've got the why. Now let's dig into the who. Who are these solopreneurs? What are their stories and motivations?
That's what I love about this trend. It's so diverse. You've got everyone from seasoned professionals leaving corporate jobs to young creatives launching side hustles to stay-at-home parents, building businesses around their passions. It's really a cross-section of society.
So it's not just one type of person or one demographic.
Absolutely not. And that's what makes it so exciting. It's opening up opportunities for people who might not have had them before, people who maybe don't fit the traditional mold or who have been marginalized in the traditional workforce.
So it's like Democratization of opportunity.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the most powerful things about this movement. It's giving people the chance to create their own paths to success, regardless of their background or circumstances.
Okay, so we've talked about why solopreneurship is booming and who's driving the movement. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. How are these solopreneurs actually making it work? What are some of the challenges and rewards of going solo?
Yeah, let's dive into that. Yeah, let's dive into that. I mean, obviously, it's not all sunshine and roses, right? There are definitely challenges that come with being a solopreneur.
I imagine so. Like, what are some of the biggest hurdles people face?
Well, one of the biggest ones is definitely the isolation.
Mm.
When you're working for yourself, you don't have that built-in social interaction that you get from being part of a team.
Yeah, it can get lonely working from home all the time.
It definitely can. And that can take a toll on your motivation and productivity.
Mhm.
And then there's the whole work-life balance thing. It's easy to let work bleed into every aspect of your life when you're the boss.
Hmm. Especially when you're passionate about what you're doing, it's hard to switch off.
It is, and that can lead to burnout if you're not careful. And then, of course, there's the financial side of things. Solopreneurs don't have the security of a steady paycheck, so there's always that element of risk and uncertainty.
Yeah, I guess that's the trade-off for the freedom and flexibility.
Exactly. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are some amazing rewards that come with solopreneurship, too.
Okay, like what are some of the things that make it all worthwhile?
Well, for one, the sense of autonomy and control is incredible. You're the boss, you get to make the decisions, you get to set your own schedule, and really create a work life that fits your needs and values.
Yeah, that's super appealing.
And then there's the creative freedom. You're not limited by someone else's vision or agenda. You get to pursue your own ideas and really build something that's uniquely yours.
It's got to be super satisfying.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the potential for unlimited earning potential. You're not capped by a salary or someone else's profit margins. You get to reap the rewards of your own hard work and success.
Yeah, that's a huge motivator for a lot of people.
It is. So yeah, there are definitely challenges that come with solopreneurship, but there are also some pretty incredible rewards. And I think for a lot of people, those rewards outweigh the risks.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges and rewards. Now let's zoom out a little bit and talk about the bigger picture. What's the impact of this solopreneur revolution on the economy and society as a whole?
Well, I think it's having a profound impact in a few ways. First of all, it's creating a more dynamic and resilient economy. Instead of relying on a few large corporations, we're seeing the rise of a whole ecosystem of small businesses and independent creators.
So it's like diversifying the economy.
Exactly. And that's a good thing because it makes us less vulnerable to economic shocks. And then secondly, it's fostering innovation. Solopreneurs are often at the forefront of new trends and ideas because they're not afraid to experiment and take risks.
But they're like the trailblazers.
In many ways, yes. And then thirdly, I think it's changing the way we think about work and success. It's challenging the traditional notion that you need a 9-to-5 job to be successful. And it's showing that there are other ways to build a fulfilling and rewarding career.
Yeah, it's like redefining what it means to have a good job.
Exactly. And I think that's a really positive thing because it's giving people more options and more freedom to create a work life that aligns with their values and aspirations.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but I'm curious as we kind of wrap up this section, is there anything you think is particularly important for people to understand about this whole solopreneur thing?
I think one of the most important things to understand is that it's not a magic bullet. It's not a quick fix or a get-rich-quick scheme. It takes hard work, dedication, and a willingness to learn and adapt.
It's not for everyone.
Right, but for the right person, it can be an incredibly rewarding and fulfilling path. And I think more and more people are realizing that.
So what advice would you give to someone who's thinking about taking the leap into solopreneurship?
Well, I think the first piece of advice is to really do your research. Make sure you understand the market, the competition, and the challenges involved. And then second, build a strong support network. Surround yourself with people who can offer advice, guidance, and encouragement. And then finally, don't be afraid to fail. Failure is part of the journey, and it's often the best way to learn and grow.
That's great advice. So with all that in mind, let's shift gears a bit and look at some specific examples of solopreneurs who are killing it out there. What are some of the most inspiring and innovative business models that are emerging from this movement?
Yeah, I think it would be great to highlight a few examples. One area where we're seeing a ton of innovation is in the creator economy.
Oh yeah, the YouTubers, the podcasters, the folks with millions of followers on TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. But it's more than just being famous online. It's about leveraging that audience to build a real business. They're
Mhm.
creating and selling their own products, courses, memberships, all sorts of things.
So it's like they're becoming their own media companies.
In a way, yeah. And what's really interesting is that they're often doing it without the support of traditional institutions. They're building their own platforms, their own audiences, their own distribution channels. It's a real testament to the power of the internet and the democratization of media.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to see. And it's not just limited to the entertainment world, right?
No, not at all. We're seeing solopreneurs popping up in all sorts of industries. Like, for example, there's this whole movement of indie developers who are creating and selling their own software product.
Oh, wow. Like building apps and websites on their own.
Exactly. And some of them are making a killing. They're able to bypass the traditional gatekeepers of the tech industry and reach customers directly through online marketplaces and app stores.
So like the App Store is becoming the new record label.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got the knowledge economy, which is exploding right now. Experts in all sorts of fields are packaging their knowledge into online courses, ebooks, coaching programs, and selling it directly to consumers.
So it's like the university is becoming unbundled.
Yeah, exactly. And it's making education and expertise more accessible and affordable for everyone.
It's really exciting to see all this innovation happening. And it's all being driven by solopreneurs.
It is, and I think it's just the beginning. As technology continues to evolve and the barriers to entry continue to fall, we're going to see even more solopreneurs emerge and create even more amazing things.
I'm definitely convinced this is a trend that's here to stay.
Hmm.
So for anyone listening who's maybe feeling inspired and thinking about taking the leap into solopreneurship, what's the one piece of advice you would give them?
That's a tough one. But I think the most important thing is to just start. Don't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect idea. Just take action and start building something.
Don't let perfection be the enemy of good.
Exactly. And the beauty of solopreneurship is that you can start small and iterate as you go. You don't need to have it all figured out from day one. Just take that first step and see where it leads you.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the next big solopreneur success story. Well, this has been an absolutely fascinating deep dive. I've learned so much, and I have to say I'm feeling pretty inspired myself.
Yeah, it's always exciting to talk about this stuff. It's such a dynamic and evolving space, and I think the future is incredibly bright for solopreneurs.
I agree. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive and for sharing your insights.
It was my pleasure.
To everyone listening, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with another deep dive into a fascinating topic. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep creating.